Right, good evening, good evening. That's Alex Bruce, the Turtle Straw Man, with a lesson on today. We're going to look a little bit more in depth at recycling. What I would say is it would be great if you guys had already watched the Intro to Plastics lesson, but this is just going to be a more sort of detailed look at what recycling is. So we're going to go through the history of recycling, trying to concentrate on the UK, and then we're going to look at what the process of recycling is, and then I'm going to direct some of you guys off to go and have a look at what a sort of recycling plant might look like, or a recycling facility. And then I'm going to talk to you about what the overall aim of recycling plastics as a whole is, and then a couple fun little exercises for you guys to do that are going to sort of help you and your family, especially whilst you're all at home from school. So first we need to define recycling. What is it? It's the process of collecting waste material, breaking it down into its smallest sort of parts, and then refashioning it into a product or an item that we can then reuse. The process of recycling different materials is all done in different ways. It's the history of recycling. So there is evidence to suggest that we've been recycling sort of since the Roman times. So glass, smashing it down and then reheating it up, because once we've made glass, if it gets broken, it takes less energy to recycle glass than it takes to make new glass. So you can see that the Romans potentially setting some big hot fires and making new glass. We've been recycling glass for thousands of years. Recycling of sort of household materials probably first started to kick off in the 70s. In the UK, curbside collections, as we know it now, only started in 2003. That was when the Recycling Act of 2003 was passed, and that meant that we all got a sort of green bin or a crate outside our house, and we're able to put our recycling out to be collected each week or every 2 weeks, as it happens in my house. So some key things to think about here. So I'm going to hit you with some numbers. In 2017, in the UK, we recycled 57% of our household waste. That is amazing. If you think back to before 2003, when recycling was done sort of on a individual level, so you would take your cardboard, your paper and your bottles and recycle them at banks, like bottle banks. If you think that's what we did up until 2003, the recycling rate in the UK was 12% of all waste. So there's a huge jump there. And one key thing that I think that everyone needs to sort of bear in mind is with regards to plastic. Plastic can be quite difficult to recycle because it comes in many different shapes and sizes, as we discussed in our Introduction to Plastics video. There is a number that's thrown around with plastic and recycling that paints recycling in a really negative light, and that is that only 9% of plastics across the world have been recycled. If in the UK it was 2003, so where will I? Numbers, statistics, 9%.
9%.
So a fairly negative statistic surrounding plastic and recycling is the 9%. You may or may not have heard before, only 9% of plastic is recycled. Now that's a lifetime of plastic statistic. And so that dating back to the 1950s. And if you think in the UK, we've only just, in less than 20 years, had the infrastructure put in to have curbside collections. Just for perspective, in 2003, I was 11 years old. I'm now 28. So we are considerably behind the curve on recycling, but we've managed to, over the last 16 years, 17 years, improve those statistics drastically. So if we keep on working on our recycling and what we're doing, then hopefully we'll be able to get that number that is 9% way up, because the alternative is incineration, burning it and pumping gas into the atmosphere. So that's history and looking on forwards into the future of plastics and recycling. So now, what we're going to talk about now is the sort of the goals and the separation process and what we're aiming for. So, as you all know, most people still recycle bottles in a bottle bank. So all the bottles are taken and separated by colour using a special machine, smashed up, and then they can be melted back down and deformed into new bottles. And that is the process there. It's fairly simple, and I think it's done on a large scale now, but that process hasn't really changed for a good many years. So we'll just put the glass away. The rest is, in your recycling, you'll normally have sort of paper and cardboard and cans and tins, and then obviously various different types of plastics will go into your recycling. So all of this will be collected from your curbside, dropped out of the bin. Green bins is what most people have, and that will get taken away to a recycling facility, or a waste management centre. So then, at the recycling centre, they're going to try and separate everything out into the individual base materials. So paper, tins, aluminium, and the hardest part of the whole thing, and the reason why plastic has proved to be difficult to recycle, is that we've got 7 different types of it. So we've got to get it into PET, HDPE, LDPE, and so on and so forth. There's more, we'll get into it. If you want to look at a really in-depth process of how all of these different things are separated, click this button above my head. Hope that works. Because I'm not going to take you through all the different silly names of things, because you can just watch it, and we've all got plenty of time on our hands at the moment. Yes. So what I am going to talk about is what our sort of end goal should be. So the end goal is that we can get all of these different base materials into a bale. So we've all seen straw. These are my turtle straws. We sell these on Amazon and on turtlestraws.co.uk. I'm not asking you, don't have to buy them, but normally you would see these. Straw is baled, and you see it in the fields, and they use it for horse bedding and stuff like that. And you'll just see a big square bale. What we're trying to do is we're trying to bale our recyclable materials as well. And once you've got a sort of component part, for instance, a PET bottle, sort of crushed up and squashed up and baled, if you can get a 1 ton bale, then suddenly it's got a commercial value, and that is what people are looking for. A recycling centre is going to be looking for commercial value in what it is churning out at the end. So at the end, it'll churn out a bale of PET bottles that can be then sent off, ground up, melted down, and turned into new products. And the same goes for cans and paper and tins. And that is the fundamental goal of recycling. The problems that people see and that arise is the difficulty of sorting things, the separation of plastics, and another thing that happens, and one of the main issues with the UK's system, so we've got a great system and everything gets taken away, so we don't have to really think about it that much. But one of the issues is that every single council in the UK has a different policy for what items they recycle, or they'll send their waste to a different recycling centre. There was a case a few years ago where Swindon Council were just taking all the recycling and burning it, so they weren't actually recycling anything. So there are issues, and what we need to do is understand what we can recycle within our council, what our household can recycle. So here is one of the little exercises or games. I'd be super keen to find out from everyone what different types of plastics that we've already learnt about can be recycled in your area. So if people are able to find out, because not only is it a good thing to know, you're thinking about different types of plastics, and look, you'll be like, right, so most places will recycle PET and HDPE because it's very easy, but some places won't recycle LDPE, which is what this is. We're in Portsmouth. We've had an issue recently where we found out that they don't recycle the film on the top of meat packets. So if you have a bacon or chicken or something like that, the top they can't recycle it. But if it all goes in together, then it screws up the whole machine. So it's a really a cool thing that you guys could all go and find out. And whilst you've got a bit more time, is to figure out and know what kind of plastic can go into your recycling. And I'd love to know. So send us a message, reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram. Another thing that all the YouTubers like to ask people to do is to like and subscribe and share it. So please feel free to do that. But if you don't want to, if you're just enjoying it, this is all supposed to be fun. So do that for me as well. Just enjoy it and enjoy your time at home. And I'm going to leave this video here for now. But I've been Bruce, Turtle Straws Man, and if you want to know anything else, send us a message, and we'll make videos about other fun little topics in plastics and recycling, and maybe we'll talk about climate change next. See you Monday.